friends, what's up? How's it going? Thanks for stopping by for today's video. If you're new here, welcome. Thanks for clicking on the video and get ready. I've got a great book for you today. And then while you're here, consider subscribing. That would be great. I would love that. And also give the video a thumbs up. When you do that, it will help this video get shown to more people because YouTube is like, oh, people like that video. Great. Which is great for the authors that I talk about. Being able to share about the books that I read and then giving authors visibility on this platform is why I started my channel. Today's book is on an author that I completely 100% adore, love. Her brand of romance novels are my cup of tea. I love them. The book is The Daredevil by Dylan Allen. It's part of a huge anthology. I think that's the right word. The 1001 Dark Nights anthology. I hadn't read anything. I had heard the name before, but knowing that this book was part of it, I did a little more, not researching, but looked it up a little bit more to find out exactly what it was. Holy smokes. Where have I been? Under a rock, evidently, because wow, so many great authors have stories in these volumes and volumes of this anthology. Geez, if I don't have the verbiage right, I feel like an idiot. I should know these things already. Anyway, so I was excited to read Dylan's part, of course, because I'm a huge fan and because it was going to be about Tyson. I have been anxiously waiting for Tyson's book. And then the little extra surprise of Dina being his love interest. A little history on Tyson Wild is he is part of Dylan's Rivers Wilde world that she has created with her books, The Legacy, The Legend, The Jezebel, and now The Daredevil. I just adore these books. I read The Legacy before I had my channel and I really liked it. It gave us the background to the Rivers Wilde family. But it was Hayes Rivers. And then we switched to the other side with The Legend, which was Remy's book, Remington Wilde. Love Remy. Like him a lot. Yeah, great book. Great book. And then we get Regan Wilde in The Jezebel. The Jezebel knocked me off my feet. Regan just is a character that I just connected with so much. She's a little bit older in that she's in her, I think, I don't want to get it wrong, maybe middle to late 30s. And she's got kids, she's married. So there was like things that I could just tick right off that were similar between her and I. Although I am nothing like Regan, she's like, way up there. I put her on a pedestal. She's freaking amazing. Highly recommend that book. And now we have Tyson's book. So the way Dylan writes, we've gotten little bits of all these characters all through the books. So I was ready for Tyson and so excited. We did meet Dina in The Sound of Temptation, which is a little bit separate, but yet kind of connected, and that was the last book that I did, right? The Sound of Temptation was the last book that I read of Dylan's. I will include in the description box below the videos that I have for Dylan's other books. Let's get to talking about The Daredevil. The Daredevil, of course, like I said, is about Tyson Wild and Dina. What is Dina's last name? Can't remember. Anyway, Tyson is the youngest of the three siblings, and he's actually the one that works for the Wilde Corporation. He is the one that wants to be at the helm when their mom decides to retire. I thought that was really interesting because he is the youngest, and it's quite obvious that Remy, because he's an attorney, he's off doing his own thing, doesn't want the business. Regan doesn't want the business, but yet here's Tyson. His mom doesn't think that he's made for it, that he's got what it takes. I thought that was so interesting. Tina Wilde as a character, she scares me a little bit. If I didn't know how much she loved her children, I probably wouldn't like her. She's just very different than I am, which is totally fine. But ooh, she's like, she makes me a little nervous. Anyway, so Tyson's like, here, I want it. I'm going to work for it. He gets a little sidetracked, which I really thought was no fault of his own early on in his career. And it's a big distraction, and they're, the business gets affected. So his mom kind of holds that over his head, and she's like, you effed up, and I don't think you can do it. But she did say this, and I was like, oh, Tina, that's your boy, be careful. Tina says to him, you're so much like your father, a romantic. I know you want to succeed me one day, but I don't think you're made for it. I stand up again. Her words are like an astringent on my nerves and my worry. Of course I was made for it, just like he was. There is family tension. And we know that because of the previous books. But I did kind of wonder if Tyson was made for it. Obviously, continuing reading, he's a complete and utter workaholic. He has decided from that moment that he is going to earn every position that he gets in that company. And he goes on to say, but all I feel is a rush of adrenaline from the challenge she's laying at my feet. My nickname in school was the Daredevil. Tell me I can't, I'll show you why you should never underestimate me. We know Dina because of The Sound of Temptation, like I said, and she's really good friends with Reagan as well. They're tight. So this book is a little bit of workplace romance, a little bit of sisters, best friend, good friend romance, a little bit, I don't know about enemies to lovers, because they weren't ever really enemies. They just kept missing. They were totally attracted to each other, but they just kind of kept missing. But those would be some pretty good trope identifying markers. And I really, really liked Dina. She's smart, great head on her shoulders, driven. If there's anyone that's an equal to Tyson, and I loved how Dylan wrote this, was Dina. Dina works for the Wilde Corp. She talks about her job in how her job is everything to her. She is going places in her work, in her career. She's very focused on succeeding in her profession. And that's something that they see in each other, that they really like about each other and are attracted to in each other. But yet they know that they're both like that and very much the same in that regard. So how could either of them have time for a relationship? They don't want to take their focus off their job. And they both know this. And they both know this about each other. And that's where a lot of the tension is. Dina has been married previously and it did not work out. She and her work are number one. Tyson and his work are number one. Who's going to be number two in either of their lives? No one really has been able to fill that spot for either one of them. They do work together. They're in different parts of the company, but they do essentially work together. And there is a no fraternizing policy at Wilde Corp. Their paths do cross, and they have always liked each other. And then one night, Dina gets a little tipsy and they give in a little bit. That's where Dylan really, for the first time, shows us their chemistry. Chemistry for days. A little bit of time goes by after that night, and we know that if there was going to be a person for either one of them, they would like it to be the other one of them. Did that make sense? Tyson would like it to be Dina. Dina would like it to be Tyson. But they're both so focused on work, they don't know how that looks. They've had these hiccups in their personal life, which has shown them that they just need to focus on their career, but yet the tension between them, oh my gosh, gold medal tension writing. As I'm filming this, the Olympics have just started and I love watching the Olympics, and let me tell you, Dylan Allen gets a gold medal for writing their chemistry and the tension between them. This is from Tyson's perspective. Alcohol makes me cry. I'm not sad. You're such a bad liar, Dina, and you're a little too good at it, Tyson. I cup her face, and her cheeks are hot underneath my cool palms. I stroke her cheekbones with the pads of my thumbs, and her eyes close on a sigh that I recognize as a sound of the same relief I feel. It's been so long since I touched her. She's so soft. I want her so much. And I was like, dude, go for it. What are you doing? And then a little bit later, he goes on to say, I break our kiss and step away. We shouldn't do that again. It's for your own good, I promise. Her eyes narrow in disgust, and she looks me up and down. Oh, for God's sake, stop acting like this is to spare me. I'm a grown-up, Tyson. I'm not wearing rose-colored glasses. It's fine if you don't want me or you're not ready, but don't insult me with this patronizing you-know-best bullshit. It's not bullshit, and it is best. One corner of her mouth tips down in a disdainful frown. You don't know what's best for me. You're trying to protect yourself from whatever you think is going to happen if you admit you want more than your job, which is fine, but you should be honest with me. She hits the bullseye and strips me to the bone with that too close to home truth. I've said too much. She sees too much. She makes me weak in ways I can't afford to be. The throb in my chest grows stronger every second she stands here. A lifetime of practice makes it easy to build a wall around it. All I need to do is recall that conversation I overheard. She feels this way now, but one day she'll get tired of playing second fiddle and leave. This has to stop here. See what I mean? Gold medal tension. There was this really cute conversation between Dina and Reagan. It was like Dylan was speaking right to us romance readers. I have to share it with you. It's from Dina's perspective. He's a man, you're a woman, you guys should just have sex and get it out of your system. I sit up in bed laughing at how she says it like she's telling me I need to put air in my tires. If you read romance novels, you'd know that never works. Of course it works. I scoff. Have you tried it? Well, no, but romance novels are fiction. This is real life. I shake my head. Those stories may be fiction, but in my favorite ones, the people feel real. So real sometimes you can see pieces of yourself in them. And I've seen myself as I am right now plenty of times. Heroines are infatuated with trouble on legs. They convince themselves it's just because they're curious, that if they just have sex, they'll magically be able to move on. It never works. They end up on the slippery just one last time slope. Next thing you know, they're in love. And what's wrong with that? Reagan asks. My heart does something weird, and I press a hand to my chest. It would be like Red Riding Hood falling for the big bad wolf. Oh, Dee, I know you've been hurt, but given what you do for a living, I refuse to believe that you don't know the difference between a wolf and a lamb's in wolf's clothing. Who's a lamb? I nearly choke on my gasp. Maybe you're blindsided by sisterly love, but Tyson Wild is no lamb. Didn't she describe that perfectly? I thought so. I hope I'm not spoiling too much when I say that eventually they have to work together. And Dina has to help him land an account that he really wants. Tina, his mom, is actually kind of the puppet master with it. Dina has to pose as his girlfriend. So there's a little bit of like fake fiance trope in here as well. And I knew, okay, this is where it's gonna get really good. In doing this job, trying to land this account, shit goes down between them. And I was a little surprised at some of the things that come up that Dina finds out. But she's so good at taking care of herself. Not that she's cold, because Dina is not cold. She might be ruthless in the business world, but she has this soft heart, and she has baggage that she brings with her that we know about from The Sound of Temptation that broke my heart for her in that book. And that does carry over into this book. And all of a sudden she's thrust into this position where she's trying to separate work and her heart. And isn't that the whole thing that they have been worried about since the beginning between the two of them? Yes, it is. They have some really sweet, tender moments and some spicy moments and some really sad, like heartbreaking moments. And this is one of them. It's from Tyson's perspective. She turns around in my arms and searches my face and then cups it. She lifts onto her toes and presses a soft kiss to my mouth. But when I try to deepen the kiss, she breaks it and pulls away. She steps out of my embrace and crosses her arms over her naked chest. What are you doing? You set my body on fire, but Tyson, it doesn't matter when you leave my heart out in the cold. I don't think anything has ever made me feel so ashamed of myself as what she just said. Ugh, they are so honest with each other that's where it's like heartbreaking. And those are the moments that made me like super teary and feel it all so much. And then a little bit later, this is Dina. Yesterday was a watershed moment because I realized I don't want love that I have to fight for. I want it freely given, without conditions. I'd rather have nothing than that. So as much as I would enjoy being Tyson's lover, that alone won't be enough. But I can't force him, and I'm not going to ask him again. I'm sad and tired just thinking about what a waste it is. We're good together. There's a natural ease to being with him that I don't find easily with people. I think we could have it all, but not if I can't trust him. I spy on people for a living and I love my work, but I don't want to bring it home with me. I certainly don't want to have to cross-examine a man before he can admit that he has feelings for me. He needs to show me by deed if the words aren't easy to come by on his own. And so far, everything he's done says he wants my body and enjoys my company, but when it comes to my heart, he has no idea what to do with it. Oh, and she's so right. Oh my gosh, she's so right. I couldn't pick between, did I connect with Tyson and where he was coming from more? Or did I connect with Dina more? Because quite frankly, they're like the same person. Just Dina's a woman and Tyson's a man. They're so similar. And the things that are coming out of their mouths and how they react to each other are very similar. And that's where it got hard for me because I was like, who's going to give in? Who's going to be the one that says, okay, let's do this? Because they were both doing that at different times. And because we get both of their perspectives, we know what's going on in their heads. And it wasn't even like the ball bouncing back and forth like a tennis match. It was like two race cars on the same track, going the same mile an hour, going down around the turns together, but yet no one was ever winning. Oh, I freaking loved Dina. And I love Tyson because in those moments when we got the authentic Tyson, he was dreamy and he totally surprised me. This is from his perspective. He stands and grabs my shoulders, shaking me slightly with the force of the movement. So that's it? You're just gonna leave? After you set a damn fire in my heart and let me think I'd finally started to warm yours up? I set a fire in your heart? He presses a kiss to my mouth and pulls me into a hug. And I swear the ground beneath my feet quakes when he whispers, "It's an inferno and it's hot enough to keep us both warm. Trust me." We got to that point within the book where I was like a giddy schoolgirl. I just love the way Dylan writes love stories. I loved the epilogue, and then make sure you read, oops, sorry, Rue is kicking the camera, and then make sure that you read the extended epilogue. Oh my gosh, I was in tears, absolute in tears, in the very best way. Oh, they're kicking the camera. Sorry. Let me know if you have read the Daredevil or Dylan's other books. I would love to hear. Let's talk about it. As always, I welcome you to come over to my social media, which is Kat Reads Romance on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and also I have a private Facebook group if you'd love to join. It's Kat's Romance Readers. Speaking of Kat, look at Rue. Look how big she got. Look, isn't she cute though? I love her. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.